I have 4 poems I'm going to read today. 2 of them are from zines that I've released before. I have my most recent one on the table over there, and 2 of them are from a zine I'm yet to release. The first one is called Meditation in Rupture. One thing is also the other. The day of the rope begins identical summer mornings. Meditation in rupture. Divination through the sweat of upheaval. Through droplets cast on ceramic or steel. Futures becoming fractal, incomprehensible. Quiet unto silence of memory. I passed this way before and survived. I was nearly crushed to death before I saw it. The difference is the direction of the wind, is the magnetic currents invisible. The day I will be killed is another routine deployment. Recurrent wandered paths in this city I know, another broken finger in the alley, another early morning collapsed in attention. Meaningful action will pass through false ignition. It returns to the stagnant afternoons at the window. I feel the seasons evolve as my bones displace themselves, as utter death is also sterile momentum. 2 violent reflections vibrating to nearly cross lines, these dissonant frequencies sustain. I wear my gloves to handle burning metal that is likely a myth to me. I wear my pistol in plates before I can estimate the multitudes of risks tonight. As one thing is also the other, as ripped apart in the market bathroom, afraid to flicker between states of tears and inertia, I will break a hole in the ceiling. I will push my hand through the wall to escape. I can hide beneath a car or catch a ride to outside of this world. This world does not exist. Its dichotomy is contradiction. Contradiction does not exist. Because one thing is also the other. Nested paradox is mutual parasitism. The actual drinks blood from fiction, so paranoia tears off flesh from being. Alone in a room where truth is not a constant dimension. Meditation in rupture. I could chew through my wrist to be unshackled. Meditation in I could chew through my wrist. This intersection leads to all directions. Anticipating death will only eat me alive. As to forget this presence will leave me blinded. I must remain potential as simmering water, to return or burst from stasis, the razor between violation and patience. 2 voices dissonant, indispensable. I need to survive this, because someone needs to survive this dislocation between modes of the present. My second poem is called Counterfeit. I don't know where you are. I don't know how much of my soul is still in my body, how much is bled onto the grass, how much of myself is a patchwork to keep the cold out. Water falls through the ceiling. I pray through every moment of the day and night. My lips continue when I can't remember the words. How much of my past can I lose to keep the fire on? I take off my shirt and my necklaces to burn. I was lying before, folding the truth into other dimensions, trying to placate mortality, to mislead my clumsy hands through life. My hair is wet. We fall out of the world through silences. I would feel better if I knew how to find you again, if we were never apart. Little boring excuses like when I forget to take my pills. It's harder every day and I don't know why. I might still be lying when I decide who I am. Was my death of God a gamble with confidence? Is this another way I've found or return to form? Chaos, psyche. I crawl through windows and down to the same room in the morning. Everything looks new because I can't remember. Will you tell me how sincere it felt when I fell from the balcony? I can't sleep because I need to repeat the things I know are true. Grains of rice to justify reality, flakes of skin and fractions. If I were lying my entire life, then someone should know. But I'm estranged from everything before Seattle. I pass through a crevice in pavement to the dream. The components of my person are floating apart. I know the electricity in my blood came from something. Causality seems irrelevant some mornings. Somewhere on Earth should seem familiar. My dreams of the future keep happening. I'm pulled from node to node I can't remember. I'm tired of asking meaningless questions to this animal. My stitches flicker in the moonlight. I think they'll always bother me. The third poem I have is called The Mind is a Myth in Collapse. The mind is a myth in collapse. It couldn't stop itself bleeding, so it drinks from the leaking tear. A puncture appeared between physics and hunger. All this century's foreshadowing were a fragile posture. Our trees grow back down through the earth. Those frozen mornings touching bile to plaster while the insect lines of state militia crawl under your pirate defenses. The train stopped between stations until someone got off and they stayed in the darkness. This doesn't happen to everyone, but it's often enough. She threw a microwave out the window 6 floors up because the cruel technologies of time couldn't say not to. All those numbers in a system are not different from each other. A stomach full of blood does not return to circulation, it only makes you sick. A microcosm of the mind will die in fear. The occluded cells in its system explore the many futures a wreckage can take. Some clusters of these became cancerous. The macrocosmic mind is insane, attempting self-surgery to separate the sky from the earth. She beat her face against the stained glass until sound and color evacuate the room. How do you remove a parasite with your bare hands? All these plans for the future are a real masquerade on necrosis. Fatal illness as an excuse to self-immolate. The mind is a myth in collapse, trying to win an argument with cancer, trying to convince its blood to walk backward. This world was supposed to make sense after we sold it our privacy for time. And once you see 2 of them, you know it's over, because there's hundreds and hundreds in the walls for every one that wanders out. Once there were computers you couldn't see with your eye, you know they'll replace bacteria soon. The slaughter of all is a byproduct to accumulate a process, so no one decided to sterilize the earth, it just happened. The active mind is a myth. And the last poem I have is called Exit Concept. A transcription error somewhere on the fragile surface infinity. A crumbling seam of mortar you could scrape away with the tip of a pen. Coordinates encoded with deliria, hidden within desynchronization. You take yourself apart like a television set to piles of vacuum and intricacy. This body gives birth to itself continually while consuming its future and shadows. The surface of a desert stretches back to the sky and past into diagonals. Hammer through a nail at the juncture to move outside time. A building infested with fire sometimes is a pathway to secret physics, a single hidden frame in all of living creation that you might notice if you pay attention. A doorway standing anachronous in a field or empty lot that remains to beckon only until you look away or question that has vanished for always. It's easier to move behind the scenes if you can pretend that you belong. A solid surface is sometimes permeable without advertisement. You have to constantly investigate your surroundings and reinvestigate to know when the rules have changed. There is a concept picture of truth you keep to navigate through, and it becomes obsolete whenever you trust it to stay persistent. The count from 1 to 10 is a different walk than from 10 back down. A stiff membrane wraps life away from living. The shell of an egg or hull of a prison ship, it either needs to be demolished. Puncture through the veil to space unfabricated that feels like drowning. It feels like drowning to be alive and real. Equations of causality say the long whole world depends on order, say a moment cannot escape its other selves on repeating through the linear, though it is possible still to excise time from time itself to receive the exit concept as fractal motes of fire that impress direction on your skin. The further you move from center, it becomes possible to leave the world. It becomes possible to manipulate the obscure into valuable tools. It becomes more possible to see outside the actual and to keep a path through from underground to absolute nowhere. The self is a lens through to find inconsistent surfaces on all material. The soul is a blade to sharpen day on day, to cut a place through where the boundary wall is frail. That's what I have, and the next